Hello, and welcome to 20 Lore Pro, a community of Lorcana players who enjoy deck building, competing, and opening Lorcana product. You can find out more at our Discord community, 20lorepro/discord, link in the description, where we have tons of upcoming events, deck lists, and deck discussions, like in today's video, where we streamed Clockwork Games' 5-round Swiss 1K Lorcana tournament, which featured over 30 players competing for the grand prize. In this video, we'll be watching round 3, Andy piloting Ruby Amethyst Bounce, versus Maximus, also piloting Ruby Amethyst Bounce. Wish our competitors luck, and enjoy the video.
Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. Today we are in College Station at Clockworks, who's hosting a 1K Lorcana tournament. We want to thank them for hosting this tournament and you, the viewers, for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about 20 Lore Pro, join us over on Discord, where we have tons of deck lists, deck discussions, and YouTube videos over the latest decks. Thank you for joining us today. I'll be your announcer, SirAshtown. Our producers are Lucksack and Stunning Rob, who some of you may know from the 20 Lore Pro Discord. We're starting here on round 3. We're just getting pairings done here at Clockworks. Love to see the little custom Etsy mats that so many players have coming around. We see a little Robin Hood fox. As we enter into round 3, we see that it's 2 Ruby Amethyst players. From those in the chat who can see, the last big event that was hosted by Thea Beastie, who was streaming it, the person that won that event was playing Ruby Amethyst. We want to thank you all so much again for joining us today as these 2 players shuffle up. It'd be interesting to see which version of Ruby Amethyst these 2 players are playing. Sometimes they go for the strictly mid-range version. Other times they play the Arthur version. So many of these decks are playing the turn 1 Olafs, or they're playing the turn 1 Mini, trying to get into the turn 2 Teeth and Ambition to just kind of clean up any low-hanging characters that are out there, deal some extra damage to things that need it. Got that stream overlay updated for y'all for round 3. But again, so many of these Ruby Amethyst decks just playing turn 1 Mini or Olaf, going into Teeth and Ambition, and then just really trying to get ahead, using Maximus Snake maybe to bounce them, take away the damage that they did on their own cards. After Maximus Snake, we've seen a lot of great targets. There's that Teeth and Ambition up there on the screen for you to see, dealing 2 damage to your character and 2 damage to another. And then using cards like Minnie Mouse, the Evasive, just such a hard target to deal with because it's hard to challenge with having the evasive ability. Trying to gain more lore until they eventually take away the game. RMB, thanks so much for joining us today. It's good to see you in the chat. Later on in the weeks to come, we'll have a deck list discussion with RMB's Steel Sapphire Zoolander deck. Looking forward to posting that and watching that together. And here we are with Andy versus Maximus. Game 1 of round 3. two Ruby Amethyst decks going against each other. Not sure which versions they're playing yet, but we're soon to find out. We see both the mirror match playing the mirrored cards of Olaf. Seems like great cards to start off with. For those of you living in southern United States, maybe even in the midsection, have been experiencing a lot of cold weather lately. Olaf being an appropriate vision of what that cold weather can bring. Both up on one lore, and kind of like I was describing in the beginning of the match, using that snake to bounce that Olaf, getting a 3/3 body, just can really handle and clean up a lot of characters so far. If they don't have the Madam Mim snake, they can follow up with another Madam Mim, that being the Fox variant with that 4/3 rush. We can partly see some of Maximus's hand over there with the Maui, so we know they got it. And just as I was describing, Andy having that Madam Mim Fox bouncing back his Olaf. Advantage of being able to go first, having that extra lore. Maximus playing that Madam Mim Surfer, evasive, very hard to deal with. Not a whole lot that Ruby Amethyst can normally do against it besides targeted removal, or playing their own Minnie Mouse Surfers. Minnie Mouse Surfer just having such a strong ability with 1/3 luring for 2 with the evasive. Not a lot of evasive cards right now that people are playing can handle that 3. Having to use Teeth and Ambition or other cards like that to try to clean it up. Hey, 666D's redeeming that GG. We see Andy playing Merlin Rabbit, trying to get some early card advantage, trying to draw up. Just these rabbits running around, able to draw you a card when they ETB and when they leave. Such strong abilities. Whether they're being bounced multiple times or using them for challenges, able to help you get ahead. Maximus going in on the mini Surfer strategy. A lot of these Surfer cards seem to be really good in Lorcana. Staring down 2 Madam Mim Surfers seems pretty strong. Andy using that Madam Mim's snake to bounce the Merlin Rabbit. Draw him an extra card. There's that rabbit up there on the screen for you. At this point, it looks like we were staring at 4 to 5 lore on both of their boards. Some of the options they could have, maybe turning into Maui. Soon we're looking at maybe Lady Tremaine. Andy, most of all, trying to clean up 2 Minnie Mouse Surfers. Needs to try to get to that Be Prepared. That way he could clean up the board and have a new board state. Having 2 really strong questers, and especially ones that are hard to deal with, means that finding that Be Prepared is so much more important than normal. Andy playing a Maleficent to try to draw, just trying to most likely find an out for them. If not, at least his own Minnie Mouse Surfers. Something about not playing Steel lets you not be as afraid of losing your whole hand to Whole New World. Means that drawing a lot more doesn't really hurt you that much. Here's Maximus using those Surfers to their full potential, luring up. We can see in Andy's hand that Lady Tremaine. I don't see a Be Prepared though. Doesn't mean he doesn't have cards to find it, like that rabbit that he had bounced earlier. Andy revealing that Maximus snake to ink. Not quite needing that 3/3 body right now against those evasive creatures. Trying to think of the best solution to get out. Looks like he taps the 4 for the Merlin Rabbit. Drawing into another Maui. We know that Andy has already inked one snake. He may have other characters he's able to bounce that Merlin back with. Choose to lure up even with the Maleficent, trying to just pace with Maximus, who has those 2 questers for 4. Maximus using his Maleficent to saying friends on the other side, saving his ink reserves. Such a strong just follow-up from Maleficent, able to play Maleficent, draw a card, use Maleficent the next turn to draw 2 more. Which, Maleficent being a character that you're happy to draw with, but also not too disappointed when it goes away. But in this case, having drawn 2 extra cards for you seems pretty good. Part of this Ruby Amethyst matchup mirror is really trying to have the answers in your hand for the problems that you see in front of you. A lot of that comes from your ability to draw, and so if you're able to draw more early, it really gives you the better options as they come. Maximus bouncing back that Maleficent for Maximus Fox to take out his opponent's own Maleficent. Maximus Fox being so strong with that 4/3. Just the ability to attack with 4 and deal that much damage, really strong. Maximus Fox being in range now for that Merlin 2/3 to be able to take it out and then draw Andy a free card. He's thinking about what he wants to do with this rabbit. Looks like he thought about singing something, maybe Teeth and Ambition, I don't know. Oh, he chose to scoop it up. He saw those 2 Minnie Mouse surfers, he had drawn so many cards, and he just didn't see a way out from the board state. Trying to think how many cards he drew. We know that he played Rabbit at least 3 times, and he'd played a Maleficent, so that's 4 to 5 cards, plus all the draws. Sometimes even just playing 4 of a card, going so deep into your deck, sometimes you just do not find the card you're looking for. That was a good showing by both Andy, who's trying to find his outs, and Maximus, who was able to get the win with the 2 Minnie Mouse Surfers. Just really showing the versatility and the strength of those Minnie Mouse Surfers. They're hard to deal with because you can't attack them with most of your creatures, and they gain so much lore so quick. And really, with it being a mirror match like this, you really don't know how it could have gone. It could have gone the other way, that maybe Andy could have had 2 Minnie Mouse Surfers in play and Maximus didn't. That's why sometimes playing this mirror, you don't know the cards that are going to come out and the outcome that may be faced by both the players. Again, if you're just joining us, I want to thank you so much for tuning into our Twitch. We are 20 Lore Pro, a community of Lorcana players who enjoy deck building, deck discussions, and playing Lorcana. You can find out more at 20lorepro/Discord, where we have tons of deck lists for people who are talking and discussing. We're here today in College Station, home of A&M, at Clockwork Games, who's hosting a 1K Lorcana tournament with 32 players. Thank you so much for joining us today and for the raids. Really appreciate y'all pouring into the community and joining alongside us. We like to share Lorcana as we see it. As 20 Lore Pro, we like to go from 1K to 1K and try to share with the community the different competitive tournaments that are going on in our local area. We're here now in game 2 of round 3. Andy versus Maximus playing a Ruby Amethyst mirror match. Maximus took game 1 by having some early Minnie Mouse surfers and really just able to quest and lore up very quickly. Leonard Lewis asked if there's a limit to how many characters you can have in play at one time. Currently, there is not. Unlike with some other games like Yu-Gi-Oh, you can have as many characters in play. Something that kind of confused me when I first started playing was the legendary rule. So used to having legendary characters, and I would see certain Lorcana characters thinking I could only have one of them because they were so strong, only to learn that you could have 3 Cinderella Bravehearts on board if you want them. That's the beauty of playing new trading card games, is learning all the rules and seeing the different ways that creators and game designers come up with how to play their card game. That's a great question, Leonard Lewis. And for all others who have questions in the chat, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. We see Andy playing that turn 1 Minnie Mouse, and Maximus playing his turn 1 Minnie Mouse. This is turning into what game 1 was with the Olafs. I wonder if we're going to see a turn 2 snake like we did last time. Yeah, no problem, Leonard. We're here for the community and to grow as players. And thank you, Nexus Esports, who is really the heart of 20 Lore Pro, as many of us go and enjoy playing a Nexus for redeeming and shifting into Big Tink. We do see that turn 2 Madame Mim Snake from Maximus, like I was saying. These Ruby Amethyst decks really having these great bouncers, able to return their cards back to hand and play strong. As I had mentioned earlier, you don't know how these matchups are going to go one way or the other, especially just because it's a mirror. Doesn't mean that it's going to play out the way you think. One person may get the cards that the other didn't. And we see that now with Andy having his Minnie Mouse Surfer. Or as I say that, Maximus having his Minnie Mouse Surfer as well. Really a true mirror at this point. The only thing even better would be to have a Madame Mim Snake from Andy come out, but it looks like he chose to ink his in lieu of a rabbit. These Merlin rabbits, just when they ETB, draw on a card, they leave the battlefield, draw a card, really giving them the ability to just have more resources than their opponent. That's really part and name of the game, is trying to get as many resources as you can in your hand. That way you can have the right answers at the right time. A card I have not seen in a while from a Ruby Amethyst deck is this Peter Pan Shadow. It's got evasive and rush, so it's able to go in and take out Andy's Minnie Mouse Surfer. And later on he'll be able to quest for 2. Andy facing down a board very similar to how he faced in the first game, with 2 evasive characters that can lure for 2. Andy using his Maui to take out Maximus's 3/3 snake. Maui being such a strong character, but in this case not having the evasive ability to handle Minnie Mouse and Peter Pan's Shadow. Peter Pan's Shadow has been seeing more and more play as mirror matches are starting to become more and more prevalent. Being able to play 1 or 2 Peter Pan Shadows just gives you an extra evasive character that is a little bit stronger and is able to just get in and rush early to take out the Minnie Mouses. We see Maximus here playing his Metamim Snake, bouncing that hurt Peter Pan Shadow, taking out Andy's Maui. Just these characters with Rush, there's so few of them that having any number of them in your deck can really change the entire game plan for a player. Andy using that rabbit to draw more cards with friends on the other side. This is a close match, 6-4. Andy playing a goat to go up to 5. Followed by a Metamim Snake, choosing to bounce his rabbit to draw a card, get more resources, rather than his goat to gain more lore. A lot of players have felt the sting of Merlin Goat. Just his ability to ETB, gain a lore, leave the battlefield, gain another. That 2 lore can really make a difference later on in the game. We see Maximus coming out with Strong, the Minnie Mouse Surfer, and the Maleficent to draw a card. Both these players trying to draw and gain more resources. Find the right answers at the right time. We see Andy playing a Ursula in his hand. Hasn't played it yet. Such a strong card. 2/8, able to lore for 3. Andy seeing those evasive characters and saying he doesn't want any more of that, playing Be Prepared. Be Prepared being a staple in all of these Ruby Amethyst decks. Able to just clean up the board, take out any problems that you see. Maximus refilling his hand. Not needing those 1/3s, inks a Minnie Mouse. Having 4 ink up, plays a Merlin Rabbit. Andy responding with his own Merlin Rabbit. Rabbits seem to be multiplying over here as these players are drawing cards. Andy playing another goat. Can't quite tell from the camera, but it looks like that might be a foil goat. Able to gain Andy a lore. Doesn't quite mind now if that Merlin goat is banished. That way he can gain more lore from it. A lot of times I'll play a Merlin goat just to lore with it until my own opponent takes it out. Now we're at the stage of the game where both these players have so many ink in their inkwell that they're able to double play cards. Seeing just that from Maximus as he plays Merlin Goat and a Peter Pan Shadow. That Peter Pan Shadow being very strong in the situation, able to gain, use that evasive ability to try to gain more lore for Maximus. Andy luring up. Casting that Ursula that we saw earlier. This Ursula having that 2/8 body, loring for 3, makes your opponent lose a lore, which in this case is very important because they're so close, but also gaining Andy resources by drawing him a card. 2/8 is such a strong body that it is hard for so many players to deal with, taking multiple hits and able to stay on the board. We see goat for goat. Maximus choosing to, looks like, attack into the rabbit instead of gaining lore. That way he can clear the rest of it with a Lady Tremaine. Lady Tremaine being normally such a strong follow-up with a Be Prepared, in this case, so strong because Maximus used all of his characters to get rid of his opponent's board state. That way Lady Tremaine can come in and make the biggest effect. Andy trying to, at this point, look for an out. Staring down 2, 4, 5 lore next turn, finds the Be Prepared. That Be Prepared really being just a lifesaver right here, as literally the life of Maximus was about to go up. Maximus playing his Maleficent, trying to find his resources and draws. Using the bounce ability of Madame M. Fox to bounce Maleficent and replay it, netting him 2 cards this turn. And re-establishing a board state that at least gives him 2 lore on the board. It's not always the best option, but seeing your Merlin goat leave, sometimes the only thing you can do. We've seen several strong evasive characters from Maximus and have only seen one so far from Andy. We'll see if he's able to get some of his own out there, that way he can start gaining lore. And we see a Elsa. Have not seen this in a lot of decks, but it's getting more and more favorability, especially as the mirrors are happening more and more, that Elsa's being played to tap down threats and keep your opponent from loring at the same time. Elsa being a Ruby Amethyst staple from set 1 has started to see more play. Bouncing it back with a Madame M. Fox, that way it could always be used in the future. Here's a Elsa up on the screen for you to see if you have not seen it before. Maximus playing his Maui. Andy trying to decide what the best line of play is. We know he's got that Elsa in hand, but is it the right time to play it? Decides that he wants to look at more options. Follows it up with Ursula. That 2/8 being very strong. Not even dying to a Maui. It would take both the Maui and the Madame M. Fox to get rid of her. Meanwhile, gaining him 3 precious lore, putting up to 15 possibly later on. Maximus trying to increase his lore using his Madame M. And be prepared. He saw that big-bodied Ursula and said, You're already at 12. I don't want you to 15. Time to get rid of the board. Andy, even though he's got that also, may not be good to play right here because it doesn't really net you any targets. But having another Ursula, drawing cards and stealing more lore from his opponent. Followed by a Metamin Fox to save the Ursula for later on. Every time that Ursula coming into play, just taking away one lore from his opponent. Maximus using the goat to go up. Sorry, just returning. Seeing the Ursula come back down and on Maximus's side this time instead of on Andy's. Andy losing lore, and then Maximus is able to draw a card. For those of you who are just joining, we are on game 2 of round 3. Andy is down 1, facing Maximus, who is up. Andy using this combo of bouncing Lady Tremaine to replay it to get rid of this troublesome Ursula. Trying to grind out as much lore as they can, going back and forth. Thank you so much, Nexus, for responding. That's right. Today is a 1K Lorcana tournament here at Clockworks in College Station, home of A&M. We have 32 players, and we're doing a 5-round Swiss cut to top 8. Looking at the board state, looks like we saw a Be Prepared. Andy following it up with a Ursula. Drawing a card. Playing his own Merlin Goat, which seems to be the only way that they're able to really gain a definitive lore. Both players having a back and forth ability of defeating, banishing their opponent's characters to try to maintain a higher lore state. Just as I said, Maximus having a Be Prepared, trying to maintain a better board state than his opponent. Andy gaining that one lore from the goat leaving the battlefield. Something that makes Merlin Goat just so viable, the fact that it not only gains you a lore when it ETBs, but also when it leaves. We've seen a lot of players do this, especially in Amber Steel. They'll play a strong character alongside a low-cost character. That way they can protect one of their characters from a Lady Tremaine combo. And doing just that, playing a Lady Tremaine next to a Olaf, That way it's protected from maybe Maximus's Lady Tremaine. But Lady Tremaine is not protected from Maleficent Dragon, who comes down and breathes fire upon Lady Tremaine. Maleficent just being so strong with that 7/5 body, able to lure for 2 and just banish anything it sees in sight. Andy following it up with his own Maleficent, keeping it safe by playing a Madam M Fox and getting a lure with that little Olaf. That lure from that tiny Olaf being so important at this point in the game, putting him up to 18 for Andy. Andy going down from to 17 due to Maximus's Ursula. We see Maximus with another Minnie Mouse Surfer evasive that lures for 2. Maximus trying to find a way to get back into the game of lore and gain as much as he can. Staring down 19 with Adam. Will Maximus be able to find an out, clear his opponent's board, that way he can't gain more lore? Coming down to the wire of game 2 of round 3. Possibly need to go into a game 3. Andy, seeing what his best viable options are, chooses to play another tiny Olaf and passing it to his opponent, who gains 5 lore. And just does not see a way out, decides to scoop it up and give it to his opponent Andy. Is in card draw that gave Andy the upper hand and his abilities to find his outs. Maximus also having drawn just so many cards that game, whether it be from the Madam Mim Fox bouncing the rabbit to the Maleficents casting Friends on the Other Side. Just so many great cards to draw, but not able to find the resources at the right time to have the answers needed. So we will be going into a game 3 of round 3. I want to thank everyone for joining us today here on Twitch. We are 20 Lore Pro, a community of Lorcana players who enjoy deck lists, deck discussions, and product opening. You can find out more at 20lorepro/Discord, or you can watch our previous videos from other tournaments at our YouTube channel, 20 Lore Pro. We want to thank Clockwork Games today for hosting the 1K Lorcana tournament with 32 players. We are in the home of College Station, which is where A&M University is. And we're entering game 3 of round 3. Ruby Amethyst versus Ruby Amethyst in a mirror match. Something nice to see, though, is that even though this is a mirror match, we've seen some different cards from each other, each of the decks. Maximus playing more Shadows, and Andy playing look like a full play set of Ursulas. Could be mistaken. As we get started on game 3, I want to thank everyone again for joining us today. If you didn't make all of the rounds, you can find out more and see more later on the YouTube channel. Sizzled Bun putting out the Melee tournament for those of you in the chat. Thank you so much, Sizzle, for doing that for us. We want to wish our competitors luck today, Andy and Maximus, as they're entering game 3. We hope that's a good match and that they're able to play a good game of Lorcana. seeing Maximus not having a turn 1 for the first time this match, but Andy having his. Sometimes when you decide you're playing the mirror, maybe the early game isn't quite the strategy that you want to go for by putting out these Minnie Mouses and Olafs. Andy playing Cusco. Wanting that extra card draw with the lore. Playing another Minnie Mouse, except this time the Surfer. Maximus having his own Minnie Mouse Surfer. Looks like this is going to be a race for the lore, seeing who can use their board the best to gain the most. We know Maximus has a 4-drop Peter Pan Shadow, which has evasive. Maximus inking a second Minnie Mouse Surfer in lieu of that Peter Pan Shadow I was just talking about. It's a hard decision to make. He must have some specific cards he's saving in his hand that he would rather keep instead of inking. And instead of having a third evasive character, he chooses to play a Rush Peter Pan Shadow. Minnie Mouse being taken out by Andy's Minnie Mouse due to Crab. Merlin's Crab, when it comes into play, gives Challenger 3 to a character, and when it leaves, making that Minnie Mouse strong enough to take out the other one, turning her into a 4/3 Challenger. That Peter Pan Shadow not looking as strong this time if that Merlin Crab were ever to leave. Andy chooses to lure with the mouse, leaving it exposed to the Peter Pan Shadow to get rid of it. Hey Halb, 9000, appreciate you coming into the chat. Thank you for joining us today. We're watching Andy here as he continues to lure up, making this a very fast game, trying to get out early before they get into the mid to late game. Playing a second Minnie Mouse Surfer, followed by a Snake who bounces the Crab, which does give a character +3 Challenger. Not able to use it, but decides to ink it. I agree, having to ink that Minnie Mouse Surfer for Maximus really is a tough decision to make. You really want all those evasive creatures out on the field if you can, but Maximus may be saving up for something big, hopefully to clear this board. It looks like he's got 5 ink in his inkwell. Not quite up to 7, which is what he's going to need. Going up to 6, can he survive another turn? Get rid of something that is, at least it can't gain lore. Autumn Falcon, you may be exactly right. It may have just been RNG. Trying to clean up some of Andy's board. Maximus is able to get rid of some of Andy's characters. Andy choosing to do what he's done all game and just gain some lore. Turning character sideways. We're looking at Maximus next turn having possibly 7 ink and possibly a Be Prepared. Andy decides not to do anything besides gain his own lore. And there's that be prepared. In these mirror matches, just knowing when to play what to be enough of a threat to buy out that be prepared can be really a tough decision to make. Knowing when to be prepared sometimes can be better and worse depending on if the game's going to end sooner or later. Andy presenting two characters that can lore for two makes it quite difficult to know what to play next. Maximus thinking. Decides to play that be prepared just to take care of those two characters, that way they can't lore. Allows Andy to draw off of that Merlin rabbit. Playing a card that you do not want to see with 18 lore, Merlin Goat. Now all Andy has to do is bounce or find a way to banish his own character. Maximus finding a Ursula, trying to just take a little bit of lore off the top from Andy, while also gaining his own resources and card draw. Decides to show his hand to his opponent. Andy getting the win with 20 lore on the board. What strong characters Maximus had in his hand. Looks like he was trying to save up to cast some of them. Congratulations to Andy for winning round 3. Going 2-1 against Maximus. Just great plays from both players as they both went 1-1 and then 2-1. I want to thank them so much for playing in round 3 and volunteering to be a part of the coverage. We want to thank y'all for joining us today here with 20 Lore Pro. We're joined at College Station in the home of A&M at Clockwork Games as they host a 1K Lorcana tournament with 32 players. We're doing a 5-round Swiss with a cut to top 8. If you'd like to learn more about the decks from today's videos, today's tournament, go ahead and check out the 20 Lore Pro YouTube, where we have all of the recaps up for you to watch. We'll try to have this week's tournament up by the end of the week, that way you can watch in advance. Head on over to our 20 Lore Pro Discord, where we have tons of deck lists, deck discussions, and YouTube videos posted for your convenience. Thank y'all so much again for joining us today. That was a great round 3, Ruby Amethyst versus Ruby Amethyst. I will see y'all here in a little bit for round 4, and talk to you then.